My parents watched my sister shove me down the hospital stairs. The security camera caught everything, and what happened next destroyed our family forever. Hey Reddit, my sister tried to kill me in a hospital stairwell while my parents watched and did nothing. Security footage caught the whole thing. What followed was the most satisfying destruction of a toxic family you'll ever read. Buckle up. I'm Ryan, 28 male, and this happened 6 months ago at Riverside Medical Center. The whole thing went down while we were visiting my uncle after his hip replacement surgery. Sounds innocent enough, right? Yeah, well, nothing involving my family has been innocent since the day my sister Claire figured out she could manipulate our parents into believing literally anything. But before we get to the main event, you need to understand the family dynamics that led to my sister committing attempted murder in broad daylight while our parents stood there like spectators at a sporting event. Claire, 26 female, has been the center of our family's universe since she learned to weaponize tears around age 4. I'm not exaggerating when I say this woman has never faced a single consequence for anything in her entire life. When we were kids, she'd break my stuff and blame me. Mom and Dad would ground me for not taking better care of my things. She'd steal money from Mom's purse, and somehow I'd end up getting lectured about leaving my backpack where Claire could accidentally grab the wrong wallet. By high school, the pattern was set in stone. Claire failed her driver's test 3 times because she was too busy texting to pay attention. Did our parents make her study harder or practice more? Nope. They just kept paying for retests and eventually bought her a car anyway. Meanwhile, I had to save up for my part-time job at the hardware store to buy my own beat-up Honda Civic. College was more of the same. Claire went to State University on our parents' dime, changed majors 4 times, and took 6 years to graduate with a degree in communications that she's never used. I got a partial academic scholarship to a decent school for engineering, worked 20 hours a week to cover the rest, and graduated in 4 years with honors. Our parents' response to my graduation? A card with $50 and congrats, we're proud, scribbled inside. Claire's graduation 6 months later? Full party at an expensive restaurant, gifts, the works. Dad gave this whole speech about how proud he was that she never gave up despite the challenges. The challenges being that she had to actually show up to class occasionally. I moved out right after college, got a job as a software developer for a manufacturing company, and bought my own place within 3 years. Small 1-bedroom apartment. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. Claire moved back home after graduation and has been living in our parents' basement ever since, occasionally picking up freelance social media consulting gigs that pay about as much as a teenager's weekend job. But here's where things get interesting. Enter Uncle Raymond. Uncle Raymond was Dad's older brother, and he was basically the complete opposite of my parents. While Mom and Dad were busy enabling Claire's every whim, Uncle Raymond actually treated me like a human being whose efforts mattered. He's the one who taught me how to change my oil, how to fix a leaky faucet, and how to negotiate a salary. Every Sunday, I'd drive over to his place and we'd work on projects together. He had this amazing workshop in his garage with every tool you could imagine, and he'd let me use whatever I needed for my own apartment repairs. Uncle Raymond was a retired engineer who'd worked for an aerospace company for 35 years. He never married, never had kids, but he had his life exactly the way he wanted it. Nice condo in a good part of town, paid off years ago, probably worth around $450,000. He had his hobbies, his woodworking projects, his morning coffee routine at the local cafe. We'd talk about everything. He was the one who told me my parents' favoritism wasn't normal and that I wasn't crazy for feeling overlooked. He was the first person to actually congratulate me when I got my engineering degree, taking me out for a nice dinner and giving me this leather portfolio with my initials on it. You earned this, he told me that night. Not because someone handed you opportunities, but because you worked for it. That's worth more than anything they'll ever give your sister. When Uncle Raymond started having hip problems last year, I was the one who drove him to doctor appointments. I researched surgeons, helped him understand his options, and stayed with him overnight after his first consultation when the pain was really bad. Claire showed up once, spent 15 minutes complaining about the hospital parking, and left. About 3 months before the incident, Uncle Raymond called me over for what he said was an important conversation. We sat in his living room with the good coffee he always bought, and he told me he was updating his will. I'm leaving the condo to you, he said matter-of-factly. You're the only one who's ever actually given a damn about me as a person, and not just what you could get out of me. I tried to argue, told him that was a huge gift, and I couldn't accept it. He shut that down immediately. Ryan, you're a software developer who works remotely. You've been talking about wanting a bigger place with room for a real home office. This condo's got 3 bedrooms. You take one for sleeping, one for your office, and you've got a guest room for when people visit. What about Claire? I asked, even though I already knew the answer. What about her? When's the last time she visited me without your parents forcing her to come along? When's the last time she called just to see how I was doing? He had a point. Claire had been to Uncle Raymond's place maybe 5 times in the last decade, and every single time it was because our parents dragged her along for holiday gatherings. Besides, Uncle Raymond continued, I'm not leaving her nothing. There's a cash amount set aside for her and your parents, but the condo goes to you. You're going to need it more than they will, and you'll actually appreciate it. I thanked him, still feeling weird about the whole thing, but understanding his reasoning. Uncle Raymond wasn't being spiteful. He was just being practical about who'd actually valued their relationship with him. The problem was, Uncle Raymond made the mistake of mentioning the will change during a family dinner 2 weeks later. Mom had insisted on a family dinner at her place to celebrate Uncle Raymond's successful hip replacement consultation. The surgery was scheduled for the following month, and she wanted everyone together beforehand. I showed up with the good bread from that bakery Uncle Raymond liked. Claire showed up 45 minutes late with nothing and immediately started complaining about traffic. Dinner was the usual dynamic. Mom and Dad asking Claire about her projects and nodding enthusiastically while she described her latest Instagram campaign for some local boutique. I mentioned that my company just landed a major contract and I'd been chosen to lead the development team. Dad's response? That's nice, son. Pass the potatoes. Then Uncle Raymond, bless him, decided to drop the bomb. I updated my will last week, he announced during dessert. Ryan's going to get the condo when I'm gone. Figured he should know. The table went dead silent. Mom's fork froze halfway to her mouth. Dad's face did this weird thing where his jaw clenched, but he tried to keep smiling. And Claire? Claire's entire expression transformed from fake pleasant to something cold and calculating. The condo? Mom finally managed. Raymond, that's worth nearly $500,000. I'm aware of what my own property is worth, Uncle Raymond replied calmly. But Claire's your niece too, Dad said carefully. Shouldn't it be split between them? Nope. Uncle Raymond cut another bite of pie like he was discussing the weather. Ryan's earned it. He's the one who's been showing up, helping out, actually giving a damn. Claire's welcome to visit more if she wants to change my mind, but I doubt that'll happen. Claire's smile was venomous. Wow, Ryan, way to manipulate an old man. I didn't manipulate anyone, I shot back. I just actually visit him because I care, not because I'm waiting for something. Everyone knows you've been angling for this, Claire continued. Playing the good nephew, sucking up, making the rest of us look bad. Claire, that's enough, Uncle Raymond said firmly. Nobody's making you look bad except you. This is my decision, and it's final. The dinner ended badly. Mom was barely speaking to me, shooting these disappointed looks like I'd personally betrayed her. Dad kept trying to smooth things over with comments about family unity and not letting money divide us. And Claire left in a dramatic huff, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the pictures on the wall. I helped Uncle Raymond to my car afterward. He was quiet for most of the drive. I shouldn't have announced it like that, he finally said. But I'm tired of tiptoeing around your parents' favoritism. They needed to hear it. It's your condo, I replied. You can leave it to whoever you want. That's exactly right. And I'm leaving it to the person who deserves it. That should have been the end of it. But Claire doesn't handle not getting what she wants very well. About a month after that dinner, weird things started happening. Small things at first. I went to my parents' house for Sunday lunch, and as I was leaving, Claire, accidentally, slammed the front door on my hand. I pulled back just in time, but my knuckles caught the frame hard enough to leave bruises. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, Claire said with this exaggerated concern that didn't reach her eyes. I didn't see your hand there. Mom and Dad rushed over, but instead of checking if I was okay, Mom immediately started soothing Claire. It's okay, honey. Accidents happen. Don't feel bad. Nobody asked if my hand was all right. I left without saying goodbye. 2 weeks later, I was visiting Mom and Dad for some holiday they insisted on celebrating together. Claire and I were in the driveway at the same time, both getting ready to leave. I was walking to my car when I felt something catch my ankle, and suddenly I was face first on the concrete. Claire was standing right behind me, her foot conveniently positioned where my ankle had just been. Wow, Ryan, you need to watch where you're going, she said sweetly. These driveways can be dangerous. I'd scraped both palms raw and had a nasty bruise forming on my knee. Again, Mom and Dad's primary concern was making sure Claire didn't feel guilty about me being clumsy. Dad actually lectured me about paying more attention to my surroundings. The incidents kept happening. A week before Uncle Raymond's surgery, I was at my parents' house helping Dad fix their back door. Claire walked by with a cup of coffee and stumbled, spilling boiling liquid down my arm. Oops, she said, not sounding sorry at all. You should have moved out of the way. Second-degree burn on my forearm. Mom suggested I put some ice on it and stop making such a big deal about it. I started avoiding family gatherings. Told Uncle Raymond about the incidents, and he got this grim look on his face. She's testing boundaries, he said, seeing how far she can go before anyone stops her. Your parents aren't going to protect you. I know. Be careful around her. I mean it. People who get away with small violence graduate to bigger violence. Uncle Raymond was a lot more perceptive than I'd given him credit for. His hip replacement surgery went well. I was at the hospital when he went in and waiting when he came out of recovery. Claire didn't show up until 2 days later, and only because Mom forced her to come. 4 days after Uncle Raymond's surgery, he was doing well enough that they were preparing for discharge. The plan was for him to spend a few weeks at a rehabilitation facility, then I'd move into his spare bedroom to help him during final recovery. I'd already talked to my boss about working fully remote for a month, so I could be available for Uncle Raymond's physical appointments and whatever else he needed. Thursday afternoon, I stopped by Riverside Medical Center to visit, brought him some crossword puzzle books he'd mentioned wanting, and a decent coffee from the cafe downstairs because hospital coffee tastes like burnt dirt. I was in his room chatting about his progress when Claire showed up. She looked irritated, like being there was a massive inconvenience. Oh, good. Ryan's here playing favorite nephew again, she said, instead of hello. Claire, Uncle Raymond said tiredly, if you're just here to start something, you can leave. I'm here to visit my uncle who just had surgery, she replied with fake sweetness. Is that not allowed? The visit was tense. Claire kept making these passive-aggressive comments about how I was always around and how Uncle Raymond was clearly playing favorites with the inheritance. After about 20 minutes, I'd had enough. I'm going to head out, I told Uncle Raymond. Let you rest. I'll be back tomorrow. Thanks for the coffee, kid, he said. And the puzzles. You're good people. I grabbed my stuff and headed for the door. Claire stood up at the same time. I should get going too, she announced. Walk you out, Ryan? Every instinct in my body screamed danger. But we were in a hospital, with people everywhere. What could she possibly do? We walked down the corridor together in silence. The elevators were crowded, so Claire suggested taking the stairs down 2 floors to where the parking garage connected. Faster than waiting, she said with a shrug. Should have trusted my gut. Should have waited for the damn elevator. The stairwell was empty, just concrete walls and metal railings. Our footsteps echoed as we started down. We were about halfway between floors when Claire spoke. You know this is all your fault, right? I glanced back at her. What are you talking about? Uncle Raymond's will. Him leaving you the condo. You manipulated him. I didn't manipulate anyone, Claire. I just actually visited him and helped him because I care about him. You turned him against me. Her voice rose, echoing off the walls. You made me look bad so you could steal my inheritance. It was never your inheritance. It's Uncle Raymond's property, and he can leave it to whoever he wants. That's when her whole demeanor changed. The fake pleasantness dropped completely, replaced by something cold and calculating. Everything's always about you, isn't it, Ryan? Ryan, the perfect nephew. Ryan, the responsible one. Ryan, who does everything right while the rest of us are just screwing up. Claire, what are you... I didn't get to finish the sentence. Her hands hit my shoulders hard, fingers digging in, and she shoved with surprising strength. I felt my body tilt backward, the world spinning, my hands grasping at nothing but air. My hips smashed into the metal railing first, sending pain exploding through my side. Then my head clipped the edge of a concrete step, and everything went bright white for a second. I was tumbling, my shoulder hitting another step, my knee connecting with the railing, my body completely out of control. I landed on the landing below, sprawled on the concrete, pain radiating from what felt like every part of my body at once. Couldn't breathe, couldn't think, just pain and shock and the metallic taste of blood in my mouth. Through the ringing in my ears, I heard Claire's voice change completely. Suddenly, she was screaming, panicked, her tone hitting these perfect notes of horror. Mom, Dad, help! Ryan fell! Someone help! What? Mom and Dad were here? I tried to move, tried to speak, but my body wouldn't cooperate. Everything hurt. My vision was swimming. Then I heard footsteps pounding down the stairs. My parents' voices. But instead of rushing to me, instead of checking if I was okay, I heard them swarm around Claire. Oh, honey, are you all right? Mom's voice, soothing and concerned. That must have been so scary to watch, Dad added. Claire's sobs sounded completely genuine. It happened so fast. He just lost his balance and fell. I tried to grab him, but I couldn't reach him in time. Wait, what? I tried to speak but only managed to groan. Dad finally crouched next to me, his face tight with what looked like irritation more than concern. Ryan, what were you thinking? Running on the stairs like that? Running? I wasn't running. I could barely manage a whisper. She pushed. Don't try to blame your sister, Mom snapped from where she was still comforting Claire. We saw the whole thing. You were going too fast and lost your balance. They saw? They were there? My head was pounding. Nothing made sense. But then I managed to focus on Claire, and I saw it. The tiny smirk, the satisfaction in her eyes. She'd planned this. Somehow she'd known our parents would be nearby. Had she texted them to meet her here? Claire's fake tears were perfect, tracking down her cheeks in these artistic streaks, like something from a movie. I can't believe he's trying to blame me for his own clumsiness. This is so typical. We know, sweetie, Mom cooed. It's not your fault. A nurse appeared at the top of the stairs, sharp-eyed, wearing navy scrubs and moving with purpose. She assessed the scene quickly, her gaze moving from me on the ground to Claire's tears, to my parents' positioning. What happened here? She demanded, her tone leaving no room for nonsense. Before my parents could start their practice story, another staff member rushed down the stairs, holding a tablet, her expression urgent. Debbie, you need to see this, she said to the nurse, showing her the screen. The nurse's face transformed as she looked at whatever was on that tablet. Her jaw tightened, and when she looked back up at my parents, her voice was steel. Mr. and Mrs. Foster, I'm going to need you to step back from your daughter immediately. Excuse me? Mom's voice went shrill. Our son just fell down the stairs and your son didn't fall, the nurse interrupted, her tone cutting through Mom's protest like a knife. He was pushed, and we have it on camera. The words hung in the air like a bomb that hadn't exploded yet. Claire's sobs cut off abruptly. What? The nurse pointed to the corner of the stairwell. I'd never noticed it before, but there it was. A small security camera, its little red light blinking steadily. Standard hospital security, the nurse explained, already pulling out her phone. Stairwells, elevators, parking structures. We monitor everything for patient and staff safety. My parents' faces drained of color. That camera doesn't show anything, Dad blustered. You're making assumptions. The footage is very clear, the other staff member cut in, her voice firm. It shows this young woman shoving her brother down the stairs. There's no ambiguity about it. Claire's face cycled through about 6 different emotions in 3 seconds. Shock, anger, fear, calculation, and finally landing on defensive rage. That's ridiculous. You can't prove anything. It was dark in the stairwell. The angle's probably terrible. The footage is crystal clear, the nurse said flatly. We're calling security and the police. And you, she pointed at Claire, need to stay exactly where you are. That's when Claire's mask completely shattered. This is all your fault, she screamed at me, her voice echoing in the concrete space. You ruined everything. That condo should be mine. Uncle Raymond should have left it to me. Claire, stop talking, Dad hissed, but she was too far gone. I'm sick of you, sick of everyone acting like you're so perfect. You don't deserve anything. You manipulated him. You made me look bad, and you're not going to get away with it. The nurse was already speaking into her phone, requesting security and police presence. The other staff member stayed with Claire, physically positioning herself between my sister and me. 2 more nurses appeared with a stretcher. They were gentle but efficient, asking me questions about pain levels and checking my pupils. Sir, can you tell me where it hurts? Everywhere, I managed. Hip, head, shoulder. We're going to get you to the ER. Try not to move too much. As they loaded me onto the stretcher, I saw hospital security arriving, along with 2 police officers who must have already been in the building. Claire was still screaming. You can't arrest me. I didn't do anything. He fell. Tell them, Mom. Tell them I didn't push him. But Mom and Dad had gone completely silent, their faces pale, looking like they'd been hit by a truck. One of the officers approached them. Sir, ma'am, we're going to need statements from both of you about what you witnessed. The ride to the ER was a blur of pain and questions. They did x-rays, CT scans, the whole deal. Fractured rib, severe bruising, mild concussion, sprained wrist. Could have been a lot worse if I'd fallen the whole flight of stairs instead of just down to the landing. A different nurse came in after about an hour, gentler than the first one, her voice kind. How are you feeling? Like I fell downstairs, I said, which made her smile slightly. The police are going to want to talk to you when you're feeling up to it. There's also a detective who's handling the case. Your sister's in custody. Custody. The word felt surreal. Did she admit to pushing me? The nurse hesitated. I shouldn't really discuss ongoing investigations, but Let's just say her outburst in the stairwell didn't do her any favors, and the security footage is pretty damning. The detective arrived about 2 hours later. Her name was Detective Patricia Wells, and she had this no-nonsense energy that reminded me of Uncle Raymond. She pulled up a chair, flipped open a notebook, and got right to business. Mr. Foster, I've reviewed the security footage from the stairwell. Pretty clear-cut case of assault. But I need to ask you something. Has your sister been violent toward you before? I thought about lying, about downplaying it. Then I thought about the door slammed on my hand, the trip in the driveway, the coffee burned on my arm. Yes, I said. Multiple times over the past 2 months. Her pen paused. Can you elaborate? I told her everything. Every incident, every injury, every time my parents had dismissed it as an accident or my own fault. She took detailed notes, asking follow-up questions, building a timeline. And your parents witnessed some of these incidents? All of them, actually. They were there every time. They always believed Claire's version of events. That I was clumsy or not paying attention. Detective Wells looked grim. The security footage from today shows your parents were already in the stairwell area when your sister pushed you. They were waiting on the landing above. It's possible they were aware she was planning something. My stomach dropped. You think they knew? I think it's worth investigating. We're pulling their phone records to see if your sister contacted them to meet her at that specific location. Before I could process that, my phone buzzed. Despite everything, I still had it in my pocket. The screen showed a notification from an unknown number. A video file. Detective Wells, I said slowly. I think you should see this. The video was security footage, but not from the stairwell. This was from earlier that afternoon, showing a different part of the hospital. The timestamp showed about an hour before the incident. Claire was visible in the frame, standing in a quiet alcove, phone pressed to her ear. The hospital cameras had audio. I'm telling you, once Ryan's out of the picture, the condo's mine. Claire's voice came through clearly. Uncle Raymond can't change his will if his favorite nephew is in the hospital with serious injuries. Or better yet, not around at all to contest anything. Detective Wells sat forward, watching intently. One more accident should do it, Claire continued into her phone. Mom and Dad will back me up like always. They'll say he's clumsy, say it was inevitable, and then that condo's mine, just like it should have been from the start. The video ended. Detective Wells looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Where did you get this? Someone just sent it to me. I don't know who. She pulled out her own phone, making a call. We need to get digital forensics on an anonymous tip. Potential evidence of premeditation. The pieces were falling into place, but in the worst possible way. This wasn't impulse. This wasn't just anger getting out of control. Claire had planned to hurt me, maybe planned to kill me, and my parents were apparently in on it. I was still in the hospital bed, hooked up to an IV for the concussion monitoring, when Uncle Raymond appeared in the doorway. He had his walker, still wearing his hospital gown from his own room upstairs, looking absolutely furious. Uncle Raymond, you shouldn't be walking around. You just had surgery. Don't tell me what I should or shouldn't do. He cut me off, but his voice was gentle despite the words. I heard what happened. Nurse told me you were down here, and I've been watching the situation unfold. He made his way slowly to the chair next to my bed, lowering himself down with a wince. Your parents just tried to visit me, he said. Tried to spin some story about how this was all a misunderstanding, about how Claire didn't mean to hurt you, and the camera must have caught things at a bad angle. Let me guess, you didn't buy it. I told them to get the hell out of my room before I called security myself. Uncle Raymond's jaw was set. I also told them exactly what I think of parents who enable one child to assault another. They're still my parents, I said weakly, not even sure why I was defending them. Are they? Because parents are supposed to protect their kids. Parents don't watch one child hurt another and then lie about it. Parents don't prioritize keeping one kid happy at the expense of the other's safety. He reached into his gown pocket and pulled out his phone. A few taps later, he showed me his screen, an email to his lawyer sent 20 minutes ago. I'm updating my will again, Uncle Raymond said. Effective immediately, your parents are getting nothing, not $1, and Claire's getting exactly $1, just so she can't claim she was accidentally left out. Uncle Raymond, you don't have to do that. Yeah, I do. I'm also talking to hospital administration about your parents' behavior. There are about 6 different nurses who witnessed them dismissing your injuries and comforting your sister after she committed assault. That's going in my statement to the police. They're going to lose their minds. Good. Maybe they'll finally understand consequences. Your sister certainly needs to learn about them. A commotion in the hallway made us both look toward the door. Raised voices, someone crying, the sound of official-sounding people speaking in firm tones. Sounds like they're arresting your sister, Uncle Raymond said, with grim satisfaction. A few minutes later, Detective Wells appeared again. Mr. Foster, I wanted to update you on the situation. What's happening? We've arrested your sister for assault with intent to cause great bodily harm. Given the premeditation caught on that second video, the DA is considering upgrading the charges to attempted murder. Attempted murder. The words didn't feel real. We're also investigating your parents as potential accessories. If we can prove they knew about your sister's plans or helped coordinate the meeting in the stairwell, they could face charges as well. Uncle Raymond looked satisfied. Good. They should face charges. They stood there and watched their daughter push their son down the stairs, then tried to cover it up. That's not ignorance. That's complicity. Detective Wells nodded. We've got the phone records requested. Should have them within 24 hours. If your sister called them to meet at that location, we'll know. After she left, Uncle Raymond and I sat in silence for a while. How long has it been like this? He finally asked. The favoritism? My whole life. The violence. Just these past 2 months. Ever since I announced the will change. Yeah. Uncle Raymond shook his head. I should have seen this coming. Should have known she'd escalate. I'm sorry, kid. This is partially my fault. This isn't your fault. You didn't push me down the stairs. You didn't enable that behavior for 26 years. You're the only one in this family who's ever actually given a damn about me. Well, I'm making sure you're protected going forward. The condo's yours, no question. I'm also setting up a trust for your medical expenses from this incident and any legal fees if Claire tries to sue or contest anything. Whatever you need, you've got it. I don't need your money, Uncle Raymond. I just need you to get better. You're getting both. Now stop arguing with me and rest. Doctor said that concussion needs monitoring. The phone records came back the next morning. Detective Wells showed me the timeline. 12:47 p.m. Claire called Mom. Duration: 3 minutes, 42 seconds. 1:15 p.m. Claire called Dad. Duration: 2 minutes, 18 seconds. 1:58 p.m. Mom and Dad's phones showed location data placing them in Riverside Medical Center's parking garage. 2:23 p.m. Security footage shows Mom and Dad entering the hospital, taking the elevator to the floor where the stairwell incident occurred. 2:31 p.m. They positioned themselves on the stairwell landing, within clear view of where Claire would be with me. 2:39 p.m. The push. 2:40 p.m. Their arrival at the scene, rushing to comfort Claire. They knew, Detective Wells said simply. Your sister called them, told them to meet her at that location, and they positioned themselves to witness what they thought would look like an accident. But why? My voice sounded hollow. Why would they help her hurt me? Money makes people do terrible things. From what we've gathered, your parents have significant debt. Credit cards, a second mortgage, some bad investments. The plan might have been that if you were seriously injured or dead, your sister could contest the will while your uncle was dealing with the trauma. Or they might have hoped your uncle would feel guilty and change the will back. That's insane. Greed usually is. My parents were arrested that afternoon, both charged as accessories to assault. Mom cried the whole time, claiming they didn't know Claire was going to push me. They just thought she wanted them there for support. Nobody believed them. The story hit local news. Sister arrested for hospital stairwell attack, with security footage screenshots. Family friends started calling, shocked. Co-workers sent concerned messages. I had to turn my phone off because it wouldn't stop buzzing. Claire's lawyer tried to arrange a plea deal, but the DA wasn't interested. The premeditation video, the security footage, the parents' involvement, my testimony about previous incidents, it was too solid a case. The preliminary hearing was 3 weeks later. I had to testify about the pattern of violence, about the previous accidents, about the conversation in the stairwell before she pushed me. Claire stared at me from the defense table the entire time, her expression cycling between hatred and something that might have been desperation. When they played the security footage in court, the room went completely silent. You could see it clearly. Claire and me talking, her sudden movement, her hands hitting my shoulders, my body falling, her immediate switch to fake panic. Then they played the audio from her phone call. One more accident should do it. The judge denied bail. Claire was remanded to custody pending trial. My parents sat in the gallery, looking like they'd aged 10 years in 3 weeks. Dad tried to approach me during recess, but Uncle Raymond physically positioned himself between us, walker and all. You don't get to talk to him, Uncle Raymond said, his voice carrying through the courthouse hallway. You gave up that right when you watched your daughter try to kill your son and did nothing to stop it. We didn't know she was going to. You knew enough to show up at that exact time and place. You knew enough to position yourselves to be witnesses. Don't insult everyone's intelligence by pretending otherwise. The trial never actually happened. 3 months after the incident, facing overwhelming evidence and the possibility of 15 to 20 years in prison, Claire took a plea deal. Attempted murder, reduced from the initial charge but still serious. 6 years in prison, eligibility for parole after 4 if she maintained good behavior. My parents took deals too. Accessory charges, reduced to misdemeanor conspiracy. No jail time but probation, fines, and community service. They also had to publicly allocate fault and apologize as part of their plea agreements. The apologies were read in court, written by lawyers, devoid of any actual emotion or understanding. We acknowledge our role in enabling dangerous behavior and failing to protect our son. We accept full responsibility for our actions and their consequences. Words on paper, meaningless. I didn't attend the sentencing. Uncle Raymond went on my behalf, came back, and told me Claire had cried through the whole thing, claiming she never meant for things to go this far. She just wanted what was fair. Fair, Uncle Raymond said with disgust. She thinks trying to kill you was fair. Uncle Raymond recovered well from his hip replacement. Better than expected, actually. He'd done all his physical routines, pushed through the hard days, and by month 4 he was walking without assistance, which meant I could finally make the official move into the condo. It was surreal, walking into the place with my boxes, knowing it was actually mine. 3 bedrooms, like Uncle Raymond said. 1 for sleeping, 1 for my home office, 1 for guests. My company had made my remote work permanent. Turned out I was more productive from home anyway, and they liked the cost savings of 1 less person needing office space. Uncle Raymond was there helping me unpack, despite my protest that he should be taking it easy. I'm fine, he insisted. Hip's good as new, better even. And I want to help you settle in. This is your place now. Might as well make it feel like home. We worked in comfortable silence for a while, boxing books on shelves, setting up furniture, arguing about the best place for my desk. Heard from your parents lately? Uncle Raymond finally asked. No, they call sometimes. Leave voicemails about how they're sorry, how they want to rebuild our relationship, how Claire's sentence is destroying them. You listen to the messages? Nope. Delete them without playing them. Good. They don't deserve your forgiveness. Not yet. Maybe not ever. You think I'm being too harsh? Uncle Raymond stopped unpacking and looked at me seriously. They enabled your sister's violence for months. They helped coordinate what could have been your murder. They've spent your entire life making excuses for her while taking you for granted. Being harsh would be pressing additional charges. Deleting their voicemails is just basic self-protection. He had a point. My doorbell rang. When I answered it, I found a delivery person with an enormous gift basket. Fancy coffee, expensive chocolates, a bottle of wine I'd never be able to pronounce. The card read, "Congratulations on the new place. You earned it, Detective Wells." That's nice, Uncle Raymond said, examining the basket. Good detective, thorough. She did her job well. More than that, she saw the pattern when your own parents refused to. That matters. We finished unpacking around dinner time, ordered food from Uncle Raymond's favorite Italian place, ate at my new dining table, and talked about everything except the past 6 months. You're going to be okay here, Uncle Raymond said as he was leaving. This is a good fresh start. No history, no bad memories, just your place, your rules, your life. Thanks for everything, Uncle Raymond. For the condo, for believing me, for standing up to Mom and Dad. This kid, your family. Real family. That means showing up when it matters, not just when it's convenient or profitable. After he left, I walked through the quiet condo. My home. Bought and paid for by someone who actually valued me as a person. No Claire. No parents playing favorites. No walking on eggshells wondering when the next accident would happen. Just peace. Guys, we are so close to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps hit that 100,000 mark. Thanks for making this dream come true.